Hi everyone, Jeff Edmiston here with Remax Bravo. Wanted to talk real briefly about negotiations. Negotiations are about risk, they're about power, and this is very important. They're about the word no. That may be the single best tool that you bring to a real estate negotiation is the willingness to say no. But first, before you get to that point, you have to weigh the risk and you have to know who's in a position of power. I once heard Donald Trump say to be successful in a negotiation, you have to be willing to say no. Now, Donald Trump is a risk taker personified. In his world, more often than not, it seems like when he takes a risk, he comes out on top. Obviously, that hasn't always been true, but today that's what it looks like. No doubt he's a skilled negotiator and has a phenomenal mind for business. But don't overlook the fact that he knows how to put himself in a position of power. And from the outside looking in, it looks like he is smart enough that if he's not going to be in a position of power, he probably avoids the negotiation altogether. Can't necessarily always do that in a real estate situation, but it's something to think about, and more importantly, to figure out who's in a position of power. But negotiations are no different in his billion-dollar deals than they are in our local real estate transactions, which may be $150,000, $200,000, $250,000, sometimes $500,000 or $1 million. But compared to Donald Trump, they're relatively small, but the principles are the same. I have a friend who owns a local residential property, and that property borders a lot that's on the corner of some major intersections, a major intersection. And a large corporation wanted to develop that lot, and they couldn't do it without acquiring my friend's property. So they hired an attorney and made him an offer. And frankly, the offer was insulting. It was probably 20% of what it should have been, especially once we figured out what was going on, what they were planning to do. So we countered that offer. My friend countered that offer back to a price that was about 5 times what they had offered and said no to their original offer. Well, the corporation come back a second time, a third time, and a fourth time, and every time we said no. My friend said no. Finally, they made him an offer that was in the ballpark of what he was looking for. And if he'd have been afraid to say no, and he thought about it, because this is the kind of money situation that doesn't come along every day. So he thought about accepting something less. But ultimately, he knew he was in a position of power, and he said no. And he came out on top in that situation. And also don't lose sight of the fact that the best possible outcome in a successful real estate negotiation and transaction is for it to be fair to both sides. And truly, if it's fair to both sides are going to feel a little bit uneasy about it. And the same thing goes for the negotiators. Sometimes this can be a war, and when I'm facing a skilled negotiator, it's not the most pleasant situation. And I've been told by several agents around town that the feeling is mutual when they see me on the other side of a transaction. I'm willing to fight for my client. I'm willing to negotiate hard. If you're purchasing real estate or you're selling real estate, then you have to look at the risk. You have to, of saying no or saying yes, determine who's in power, and if the conditions just aren't right, your best tool is being willing to say no. Again, it's Jeff Edmiston with the Edmiston Buck team at Remax Bravo. Come on over and visit us at fredericksburgrealestateblog.com.